Thank you for tuning in to the GSMC Basketball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I am your host, Nelson, and today we are going to be doing 3 segments as usual. Big day in NBA basketball for right now. As you know, the trade deadline is approaching in about 3 hours, 2.5 hours technically. So I'm obviously going to keep us all updated on some of the trades that are going to be going on throughout this live show, as well as some of the trades that have already happened, because a lot of the teams have already started pulling the trigger this morning. As well as on the second segment, we're going to bring up Kobe Bryant's getting a statue in front of Crypto Arena. And we are also going to talk about some of the games that are going to be happening tonight and some of the best matchups and what to expect. We also have a 4th segment tuned in, so stay tuned to figure out exactly what that is. But throughout this entire episode, I'm going to be updating us on NBA trades. That's definitely going to be the main focus. So I would definitely pivot in several segments going into the future, or like not going into the future, but going into this segment right now. But that is definitely going to be the main topic of interest because trades are happening and they are happening very, very quickly. But before I get into this, I'd like to remind everyone, as always, please remember to tip and to donate to get your comments recognized. Be sure to use the following link that is in the description. That is streamelements.com/GSMC Really helps the show, makes the show much more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. So once again, the link is streamelements.com/GSMC And without further ado, let's go into the first segment, which is talking about the NBA trades, because there is a lot of them, and I'm going to be looking at Twitter right now just to make sure that I haven't missed any or nothing major has happened yet. Nope, nothing has happened yet. So I'll go ahead and update you guys on some of the big trades that have recently happened a few hours ago. So the Knicks, the Sixers, and the Pistons, they were discussing a 3-team trade between Alec Burks, but as of right now, what we know is Alec Burks and Bojan Bogdanovic have been traded from the Pistons to the Knicks for Quentin Grimes, Evan Fournier, Malachi Flynn, and 2 second-round picks. This is a very, very good trade coming in from the Knicks because now they have a lot more production. Bojan is a great on the offensive end. He's been great for the Pistons, and I definitely think he will come out for the New York Knicks producing. Alec Burks, he used to be a Knick. I liked him when he was on the Knicks. I thought he was a great pickup. So definitely a good move from the Knicks. The Pistons, on the other hand, not so much because they got players that don't necessarily make their team any better. Obviously, the Pistons are tanking, so it makes sense that they would make this move because they're trying to rebuild for the future with these second-round picks that they got from trading. But as you all know, the Pistons are the worst team in the NBA right now, and they might potentially mess up on these second-round picks. So for the Pistons, not necessarily the best trade, but for the Knicks, this is definitely a great trade. I give it an A for the Knicks. They're definitely making a statement, trying to win it all this year, given the fact that the Sixers don't have Embiid. And speaking of the Sixers also pulled the trigger on a trade. They are going to bring Buddy Hield in exchange for Marcus Morris, Furkan Korkmaz, and 3 second-round picks. Now, personally, I don't understand this trade. I thought the Pacers would be fine with Buddy Hield. They don't really use him that much. He's incredibly underrated on the Pacers. And, he's a great three-point shooter. And I thought the team was going to be fine if they had him, coming off the bench to provide a little bit on the offensive side of the ball. And not only that, there were so many picks that the Pacers had to give up, that the Sixers gave up in order to get them. And so the Pacers gave up in order to trade him. So it's I don't understand this move coming in from the Pacers. I definitely like this move for the Sixers because they're grabbing a very underrated three-point shooter. They need that offensive production for the future, given how if Embiid is going to recover from his injury, his torn meniscus, this will definitely keep them afloat because they need offense. They desperately need offense, and they need consistency. and Buddy Hield is going to provide that coming in. I think this is a great trade, but for the Pacers, I'm not entirely sure. I don't know what use they would have getting a player like Marcus Morris, Furkan Korkmaz. They will make use of those second-round picks, however, because they're trying to build around Tyrese Halliburton and Pascal Siakam. So I can see the picks being of use. And a funny story, Marcus Morris was actually given the key to the city, and the city traded him. So it just goes to show you guys that the NBA is strictly a business now, and its loyalty is few and far in between. Another trade that was sparking a lot of rumors, well, not a lot of rumors, that another trade that just happened was Gordon Hayward is now being sent to Oklahoma in exchange for Trey Mann and Vasilije Misic. Forgive me if I mess up that name. And, also David Bertans is going to be included in that, and draft compensation, as I'm figuring out right now. They're going to be included in that trade package for Gordon Hayward. Those players, it's a weird trade for OKC. I don't know why they would try to pursue someone like Gordon Hayward, given how he hasn't really played that many games. He is injured. He has a calf injury. And not to mention, he's just not the same player that he was on the Utah Jazz. He could provide some production for the Oklahoma City Thunder, but I'm also worried about the Thunder in their defense. Gordon Hayward is not much of an offensive weapon as he was on Utah Jazz. Therefore, he's not going to be that consistent when he's on the floor. So I feel like they should have spent more time trying to pick up a defender rather than picking up another scoring option, because we don't even know if he's going to be that good of a scoring option. And I'm just going to check Twitter once again just to make sure no trades have happened. And nope, nothing yet. So far, it's been a really dry it's been a really dry trade deadline. Usually, we're used to a lot of big names making and a lot of big teams making these moves. So far, we still have nothing from the Lakers. I'm going to touch on that later, but there is more trades that I would definitely like to talk about. Daniel Gafford is going to Dallas in exchange for Rashawn Holmes and future draft compensation. Monte Morris has been traded from Detroit to the Timberwolves in exchange for Shake Milton, Troy Brown Jr., and 2030 second-round pick. I see this as a great move from the Timberwolves. They now have a backup point guard for playoff rotation, and they don't even have to pay him all that much, given how much money how much his contract is. It's a great move for the Wolves, basically taking a piece from the Pistons to help them compete. The Pistons, again, like I mentioned before, worst team in the NBA right now. So the concept of this trade is a good idea. Getting a second-round pick in return sort of feels a bit underwhelming, since this pick is going to be in the middle of Ant's prime. But if there was a better offer, I'm sure Detroit would have taken it. So I give this move an A from the Wolves and a B from the Pistons. Now, Morris just needs to adjust to his new team in time for the playoffs. The point guard Morris, not Marcus Morris, who was just recently traded that I mentioned before. And the next trade that happened way before today, the trade deadline, was a trade between the Boston Celtics and the Memphis Grizzlies. The Memphis Grizzlies are sending Xavier Tillman to the Celtics in exchange for second-round picks and Lamar Stevens. Now, Lamar hasn't really been involved in the Celtics rotation. And the picks that they got was one in 2027 and one in 2030. This was a great move for the Boston Celtics. Now they have a full center rotation, which was a position that they were lacking in. The Boston Celtics have a great starting lineup and which is basically the only thing that they got going for them, actually, now that I think about it. They have a great starting lineup, and the bench rotations, they're there, but the center was very weak. So now they have a good center in addition to having Al Horford and having Kristaps Porzingis. And he doesn't average crazy numbers, obviously, but his production at the 5 will definitely be enough with how good this team is on both sides of the ball. So Tillman, however, he took a huge drop in efficiency in this season. He went from averaging 61% from the field all the way down to 40%. He is averaging a career high in blocks, though, even though it's just one, but, it's still a career high in blocks. But maybe that's what he needs to, get back into shooting 61%. A change in scenery is always great. This is also a good move, like I can see from Memphis. Tillman's contract was near expiring. They were able to add a lot more draft capital for trade purposes in this offseason because they're trying to build around John Morant, trying to give him the best pieces that they possibly could. So overall, I'd give this trade an A on both sides. It definitely suits both teams' needs and what exactly they want going into the All-Star break. Another trade incoming was involving the Pistons. Again, the other team was involved, the Utah Jazz. The Jazz are sending Simone Fontecchio to the Pistons in exchange for Kevin Knox and 2024 second-round pick from Washington. I'm a little bit confused around this one. While the second-round pick is projected to be 32nd overall, I feel like Detroit is past the draft picks, and I think they're just done trying to hit on them completely. With this move, it seems like, at least. And Fontecchio is 39% from three, and he's been a very solid piece for the Jazz this year. And I see him as a means to give Detroit a lot better spacing and allow Cade to operate while giving him shooters who can produce. On Utah's side, however, it makes sense if they want to be the sellers in the trade deadline, giving away players and giving away picks. Pick 32 for an expiring deal on a 28-year-old is good value, but Utah is in the play-in conversation right now, and I don't see why they would get rid of Fontecchio. Forgive me if I'm botching his name completely, but if they are trying to compete, maybe they're going to try to move on from Lauri Markkanen towards the end of this trade deadline and go into a full rebuild, then this move would make sense. But for now, I give this trade an A for the Pistons, and I give it a C from the Jazz. And hold on, I just got a Woj bomb. Wait just a second. I'm going to be looking at... The Raptors are trading Dennis Schroeder to the Nets for Spencer Dinwiddie. Oh, no! We're getting the Nets are getting Dennis Schroeder. And I don't know exactly the entire trade details because this Woj bomb literally just dropped right now on my phone. So I'm very confused about this move coming in from the Nets. Depending on what exactly the rest of the details are, I'm not entirely sure how this move is going to help us. I mean, we get a playmaker, sure, but we still lack defense. And the Nets still lack defense. So I'm not entirely sure what this move exactly accomplishes. It's just a normal trade. It's just Dennis Schroeder. Okay, great. I'm not particularly excited for getting Dennis Schroeder. The Raptors have Spencer Dinwiddie, so that gives Scotty Barnes a little bit more of a scoring option, which I can see working for the Toronto Raptors and the situation that they're in. But again, I don't understand this move whatsoever coming in. And there was also a trade involving Kelly Olynyk. So I'm going to just pull up the trades and the exact details for the Kelly Olynyk trade in just 1 second because I saw that bomb recently drop. Just give me 1 second, guys, just to get the full details. And Jazz were trading Kelly Olynyk to the Raptors for a package that were including a first-round pick. I'm going to get more details on that, but essentially Kelly Olynyk is going to the Raptors. It looks like the Jazz are trying to go into a rebuild with this trade coming in and the rest of the trades that they were making with Lauri Markkanen as the main catalyst for their team. So again, we'll see how this the exact details. I'll come back from a break and explain the rest of these details before because again, need to be updated on these details. But as of right now, not entirely sure what the Jazz are trying to do. Are they trying to compete now? Are they trying to just save for next year? Still not sure, but it's all dependent on where this team decides to go. And I'm very surprised that the Lakers haven't made a move yet. I'm very surprised that the Lakers aren't being involved in this trade. if you were watching my previous podcast, then you'd know I think it is absolutely crucial that the Lakers do a trade right now and put LeBron in a great position to win the championship and to make it far into the playoffs. And they have beat a team that, like, everyone was demanding to, like, make a trade, even to trade LeBron at one point. But it would seem like those talks have died down. But they've been the team that, like, everyone has been demanding to make a trade, and so far they haven't made one. D'Lo was also, like, in the trade rumors as well, obviously, but with how he's been producing as of recently, I think the Lakers are going to second guess that trade option. And I recently read a report that the Lakers feel confident that they can end up landing Donovan Mitchell this summer coming into the offseason. And it was rumored that they are not going to trade their 2029 first-round pick, which means they'd go into the summer with $50 million in cap space and 3 tradable first-round picks. This could definitely be enough to land Donovan Mitchell, but will the Cavs pull the trigger on this? No. I personally think the Cavs will not pull the trigger on this trade. Cleveland right now is the 2nd seed in the East, and trading away the player that has gotten them to the 2nd seed is just, in my opinion, going to be the dumbest move that an organization can do. Granted, they might want to help LeBron win a championship, but again, they have to help themselves win a championship. I don't think that move and waiting for the next offseason is the smartest move that the Lakers can do, because LeBron is not getting any younger. So this will be, if they wait, this will be another year wasted for LeBron, assuming that they don't make the play-in as of this rate. Like, the Cavs have already found their guy, and they already have great role players to go alongside him. And it doesn't seem like Mitchell is unhappy in the situation that he's in either. So this seems like a signature Lakers offseason move. Every single time in the offseason, the Lakers and their fans always bring up ridiculous expectations going into free agency. One point, they thought they were going to get Kawhi and Boogie and LeBron on the same team, as if that was ever going to happen. They also thought they were going to get Paul George, which also didn't happen. They also had talks about potentially trading for Kyrie 2 years ago, also didn't happen. Bradley Beal, also didn't happen. And now with DeJounte Murray, which that also didn't happen. And we have, so Dennis Smith Jr. is heading to the Raptors in a trade, and Thaddeus Young is also coming to the Nets. I guess that's more updates on the trade that with Dennis Schroeder and Spencer Dinwiddie. But I'm going to look at Twitter right now and look at the full details that Woj just dropped for us. Let me see. Just opening up Twitter right now. And so far, no details yet. So I'll go ahead and soon, after I'm done talking about these Lakers, I'll go into a break and I'll just check and make sure that these updates are going to be coming in. But essentially, that's been the story surrounding the Lakers. And they've always had, it's just a cycle at this point with these trades. And I've gotten sick of it. I've honestly gotten sick of it. So, but we are out of time for this segment. So I'm going to go ahead and go into the second segment where I talk about Kobe getting his statue, as well as continuing to update everybody on trades. So I will be right back after this short break.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
And we are back to the second segment of the GSMC Basketball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. And before I begin and give you guys an update on these trades, as well as talk about Kobe getting a statue for the Los Angeles Lakers, I would like to remind you all, please remember to tip and to donate to get your comments recognized. The link is below in the description, streamelements.com/GSMCSportsNetwork./tip. It is also displayed below the ticker on every single segment that I do. Really helps the show, makes the show much more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. The link is streamelements.com/GSMCSportsNetwork./tip. And with that out of the way, let's go into the Lakers unveiling the new statue for Kobe Bryant on 2/8/24. Obviously, those numbers are very significant to Kobe and his legacy. But before I further talk about this statue, there is more news about the Nets and this recent trade coming in. Thaddeus Young is also going to be included in the trade package with Dennis Schroeder to go to the Nets in exchange for Spencer Dinwiddie. I'm very surprised that they gave Spencer Dinwiddie that much value, especially grabbing someone like Thaddeus Young. I personally like this pickup. We will definitely get a lot more defense and a lot from Thaddeus Young, and we'll also have a great center in the rotation for when Claxton is. The Nets will have a great rotation for Claxton when he does get subbed out. So that's the update on the trades as of right now. I'm currently going to refresh Twitter just in case I missed anything before I go into this segment real quick. And so far, there has been no news from trades yet, obviously, because that is going to change. So I can go ahead and talk about the Kobe Bryant getting a statue. He joins players like MJ, Shaq, Dirk, Magic, Larry, Wilt, and Kareem, and Bill Russell as players that get a statue in front of their in front of the arena. On this day, 2/8/24. Obviously, these numbers are symbolic to Kobe and his legacy. 2 symbolizes his daughter, who tragically died in the helicopter crash with him on January 26, 2020. Rest in peace. 8 was Kobe's first number when he joined the Lakers for 10 years, and 24 was the last number that he wore in the second half of his career for the last 10 years with the Lakers, and they were both 10 years respectively. Kobe is one of the game's greatest scorers, as well as one of the league's most inspirational players that we've ever seen. Players like Devin Booker, Jason Tatum, and Kyrie Irving tried modeling their game after Kobe Bryant, and they really seek guidance from him when he was alive. Again, rest in peace to the late, great Kobe Bryant. He's my favorite player to ever play basketball. Yes, I am a Kobe fan, and I'm a LeBron fan. Despite that, even though I am a Kobe fan, I am not delusional. And I don't think that Kobe is better than LeBron, because there's nobody that's better than LeBron. But Kobe is still top 3 in my opinion. And a lot of people are going to disagree with that, but that's my opinion. But he was the whole reason why I started watching basketball. And there aren't many people who are this iconic. I mean, when I was growing up as a child, everybody, when they were throwing out garbage, they would just scream, "Kobe!" every single time. He's that iconic. Not to mention the ridiculous stories that NBA athletes constantly share about playing with Kobe Bryant. And here's one of them that recently was brought up, given how he's getting a statue. So when Kobe tore his Achilles and was asked if he wanted to get carted off, he reportedly said, quote, "F Paul Pierce," end quote. And Paul Pierce was notoriously carted off in Game 1 in 2008 because he allegedly got hurt at the time. But after a few minutes of that and him in the locker room, he was back like nothing was the matter. He later confessed to the media in 2019 that he just needed to use the bathroom, which is honestly very pathetic. But Mamba mentality, I'm going to talk a little bit about Mamba mentality and keep refreshing Twitter so that I could stay updated on all of these trades that are coming in. But his dedication to the game and everything that he's done in his life is an aspect of his character that cannot be replicated in today's NBA. And in fact, it really can't be replicated in today's society if you think about it. He's always tried to be the best he could be. And he would literally set his alarm for 3:30 just to go to the gym. Just to name a few of his accomplishments as an NBA player, he infamously scored 81 points in 2006 against the Toronto Raptors, outscored the entire Mavericks team in the third for 3 quarters in 2005, and in the very last game of his career, he dropped 60 points to eliminate the Jazz from playoff contention. He's done so much for the Lakers organization and for the world of basketball and for the world in general. And unfortunately, it's not called the classic Staples Center Arena, but I digress. History still lives on despite the name change. And tonight in this game, the Lakers are actually going to wear their famous Mamba jerseys on this day to honor Kobe Bryant. So I guess I should go a little bit deeper in exactly what Mamba mentality is. I'm sure everyone here knows it, but just for the few people that might not know what Mamba mentality is, but it's essentially the mentality of trying to be the best you can be. The literal term of Mamba mentality, if you Google it, means best version of yourself. So for Kobe, he wakes up, basketball. He eats, basketball. He sleeps, basketball. Always trying to be the best. He dedicates every single aspect of his life into improving his game. Not a single moment of his career was wasted doing extra things that could potentially hurt his career. Always stayed on the grind. Allen Iverson would say things like, "I'm going to the club after the game." Meanwhile, Kobe would say, "I'm going to the gym after a big game." Always trying to improve and always trying to be better. That was the most integral piece to Mamba mentality. And this could not only be applied for basketball, but for everybody in everyday life. Like, for example, I could be applied to myself. Like, while I'm doing this podcast and this show, I'm constantly trying to find ways to improve, constantly trying to find ways to get better and improve my content and also improve my speaking abilities. I've been in touch with a lot of these professors that specialize in communications with every student. So, and anyone that can give me pointers, I listen and I try to adapt. I always ask questions, similar to how Kobe would always ask questions whenever he could. And that's what Mamba mentality is. Because when it's all said and done, you don't want to look back on all that you did and think, man, I could have done more. Like, if I would have done this, I could have done way more. But just looking at Twitter just to make sure no recent trades have happened. And nope, nothing right now. Still talking about the Thaddeus Young trade. And, the Raptors are also we're also giving away Dennis Smith Jr. in exchange for Dennis Schroeder and Thaddeus Young. So this trade is starting to look a little bit more even than I thought it was going to be. But back to Mamba mentality, this could be applied with everyone. And you guys know how much I cannot stand Ben Simmons, but imagine how much better he would be if he had the same mentality as Kobe Bryant. Kobe, in an interview, was talking about what he thought Ben Simmons' ceiling would be. First thing he said was that he needed a jump shot. Obviously, Ben Simmons did not listen to him, and look at what happened. Now, Ben Simmons is one of the most disliked players in the league, and he's going to end up retiring thinking to himself, man, imagine if I had a jump shot. What could I have done in the league if I had a jump shot? And he just recently in a press conference said he felt he would be much more valuable in the starting lineup. Well, if you can't shoot and you're not trying to get better, you are not getting into the starting lineup. That I can tell you. And just imagine how much better he would be for the Brooklyn Nets and for my Brooklyn Nets if he would have just made a jump shot. This same mentality and this Mamba mentality is what elevated LeBron and D. Wade into the elite status that they are today and one of the most well-respected legends in this game. When Kobe spent time on Team USA with LeBron and Dwayne Wade in 2008, everybody on Team USA was stunned by Kobe's work ethic. This was in the documentary, you can watch it on Netflix, called The Redeem Team, because the Team USA was struggling because the world was catching up in basketball, and because of that, the previous Team USA team actually only won third place in basketball. That was seen as very disappointing coming from Team USA, seeing how dominant we usually are in basketball. But once Kobe Bryant came, he brought a whole new He brought a whole new mentality into that locker room. And he helped elevate LeBron and D Wade into the players that they are. It was so inspirational that LeBron and D Wade were watching Kobe working out at 3:30, and they were like, "Hang on a minute, we should be working out with him at 3:30." And eventually, everybody was in the gym at 3 o'clock trying to get some work in along with Kobe Bryant. He set the tone. That mentality set the tone for that Team USA, and it elevated the team, and that's why Kobe has not lost a single game for Team USA because of that leadership and because of that mentality. When you see someone next to you outworking you the way Kobe was outworking you, it would make you completely rethink everything. Like, you've been doing this whole entire thing wrong. That's what Kobe would make people think when they were approaching this game. And Melo, in the Redeem Team documentary, was the only player who wasn't waking up at 3:30. He actually said in a quote, "I wasn't waking up at 3:30. That's too early," end quote. And at that moment in that documentary, I realized what separated Melo from LeBron and D Wade. That time on Team USA was when LeBron and Wade made that jump from being great to being elite. And they completely entered a different playing field compared to Melo. Wade won a title before his time on Team USA, so maybe other people's opinions, like he was already elite, but personally, I don't think so. I think he made that big jump when he was on Team USA. Kobe's been an inspiration for the entire league, and I was really looking forward to seeing his daughter in the WNBA as well. I feel like she would have been such a great player, such a great aspect for the league, but unfortunately, life happens. And just looking at Twitter before I cut off for this break, and as of right now, no teams have really made any other moves yet. So with that, I'm going to take a short break, and we will be back for the third segment, where I talk about some of the best matchups that are happening for tonight, as well as continuing to update everybody on these trades and the full trade details. So I will be right back after this short break.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
And we are back with the third segment of the GSMC Basketball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this segment, we are going to be talking about some of the best matchups that I'm looking forward to coming into for tonight's games. But before I get into that, I would like to give an update on some of these trades. 2 hours ago, the Utah Jazz finalized a trade to send Kelly Olynyk and guard Ochai Agbaji, again, forgive me if I completely botched that name, to the Toronto Raptors for Kira Lewis and Otto Porter Jr. and a 2024 first-round pick. So Kelly Olynyk going to be moved to the Toronto Raptors. It looks like the Toronto Raptors are trying to make moves to improve this team and trying to get them into playoff contention, at least with these moves. Getting Kelly Olynyk is definitely a great pickup. And it looks like the Jazz are trying to go into a rebuild with Lauri Markkanen in acquiring Otto Porter, Kira Lewis, and the 2024 first-round pick. And of all the trades that happened, this one is one of the only ones that has a first-round pick involved. So I definitely see this as the Jazz trying to rebuild with Lauri Markkanen. Not a bad move, but again, it's a little bit odd trying to rebuild while you're in play-in contention. So I'm not entirely sure how that's going to affect the Jazz going into the future. The Warriors are creeping up on them in the play-in spot. So maybe they'll just start tanking and like save it for next year, given these trades. Again, we'll have to see. Obviously, there's still 2 hours left before the trade deadline is officially done. So we'll see if there's any more moves that are coming in from the Jazz and from other teams. But the big winners of this trade right now, in my opinion, are the New York Knicks. They got a great piece by getting Bogdanovic, a great scorer. So that's the best trade that happened as of right now. And with that in mind, let's talk about some of the best matchups for tonight. So we're talking about some of the games that are going to be going on tonight and which ones I think are going to be the best games to watch. Obviously, you guys know I'm going to be tuning in to my Brooklyn Nets as they go up against Donovan Mitchell and the Cavs. I don't think it's going to be the best game to watch for tomorrow because I'm a Nets fan, but I'm realistic. I feel like this game is going to be a blowout. Jarrett Allen is going to make his return to Brooklyn along with Karis LeVert. So obviously they're going to have a revenge game against us, against the Brooklyn Nets. Every team does. I have a feeling it's going to happen. Do I think Ben Simmons is going to play tonight? I don't know, but it doesn't really matter because he is not the best basketball player on the team, and he is not as good as he thinks he is. You guys might want to tune in to the real New York team right now, which is the New York Knicks. So Jalen Brunson is questionable for this game as he left the Grizzlies with an ankle injury, so we will see if he's going to return to have his revenge game against the Dallas Mavericks. So in 2021, he helped the Mavs make it all the way to the Western Conference Finals, was a very vital piece to that team in terms of scoring the ball, obviously because of his height, being one of the shortest players in the league. His defense is a little bit lacking, but he makes up for it enough by being consistent on the offensive side of the floor. This duo, however, the Mavs didn't really want to pay him as much money, so the Knicks really jumped right on that and were able to sign him coming free agency. It's been proven to be a success for the Knicks, especially now that they've paired him up with his Villanova buddies, Josh Hart and Dante DiVincenzo, who ended the game with 32 points in that Memphis Grizzlies game when Jalen Brunson went out. So bringing in players that played in the same college is one of the smartest things that the Knicks could have done, in my opinion, because they've already built the chemistry. DiVincenzo, Jalen Brunson, and Josh Hart. They already have that chemistry. And now they just have to combine that with the rest of the lineup that they have. That is one of the smartest moves I've ever seen from the Knicks in a while. So, and it's been proven to be super effective. Kyrie, also most likely going to be playing this game. Again, it's Kyrie. I don't know. He might rule himself out later on as the day progresses. In 2019 free agency, he was it seemed like he was about to sign with the Knicks, considered to be the favorites. The Knicks were considered to be the favorites to land both Kyrie and KD in the offseason, but obviously that didn't go as planned for the Knicks, as they ended up signing with Brooklyn. Was a great few years while it lasted, but it just ended with disappointment. So with that in mind, the Knicks might have dodged a bullet by not trying to pursue Kyrie and not trying to pursue Kevin Durant. It was seen as a big loss at the time, however, and not pursuing these two players. But the main reason why the Knicks didn't pursue was because of Kevin Durant's injury. And as you know, before going into the offseason, when he was on the Golden State Warriors in the finals against the Raptors, he tore his Achilles, and nobody was sure whether or not he was going to return the same player as he was. But eventually he did, and in hindsight, well, at that point in time, it looked like the Nets made the right choice in trying to pursue Kevin Durant. But now, given hindsight, it looks like the Knicks actually did a better job in handling that and dodged a bullet, given how much drama was going on around the Nets. So imagine all that drama if they were on the Knicks. All that media was just going to be on top of them. Luka's always a treat to watch, so I definitely recommend tuning into that Knicks versus Mavs game. because Luka most likely is going to have a great game in Madison Square Garden. And a notification. Okay. Hold on just 1 second. The Hornets are finalizing a deal to send PJ Washington to the Mavs for Grant Williams, Seth Curry, and a 2027 first-round pick. Now, this is actually very interesting because earlier in the day, PJ... Actually, no, it wasn't PJ. It was another forward that was... I refuse to say his name. It was another forward that was going to veto all the trades. But PJ Washington going to the Mavs for Grant Williams and Seth Curry in a 2027 first. I feel like that's a lot to give up from the Mavs. Like, they're really giving up that much just to get PJ Washington. I don't really like this. I don't like this move at all coming from the Dallas Mavericks. I don't like this move whatsoever. This is a dumb trade for Dallas. But for the Charlotte Hornets, this is definitely a great trade. They get Seth Curry, and they get Grant Williams, and they also get a 2027 first-round pick because they are going to be in a rebuild. So with this in mind, I'm not entirely sure exactly like the direction that the Mavs are trying to go. It seems that they're trying to just ride out Kyrie and Luka Doncic in the ISO lineup, and PJ Washington is a great spot up, don't get me wrong, but they're sacrificing a lot. And Grant Williams was a big fan of Luka Doncic. Same with Seth. So breaking those guys up doesn't really seem like the smartest move, in my personal opinion. But we will see how they... I'm not sure if PJ Washington is going to play this game, seeing as how he was literally just... how the trade might happen, because as of right now, it's finalizing, so it's not guaranteed yet. But if he does play tonight, then we'll see how that goes. But more games coming in from tonight. The Lakers go up against the Denver Nuggets. As I mentioned before, the Lakers are going to be wearing their signature Mamba jerseys, 2/8/24. Rest in peace, Kobe Bryant. So it's only right that the Lakers' attitude for this game is to try and win at all costs. And against a top team like Denver, this could be a very, very competitive game. Definitely should tune into this game. The Lakers are coming off 2 big wins with LeBron and Anthony Davis, so they're looking to keep their winning streak alive. If they can come out with this win in this game, then I think now we should start looking at the Lakers a little bit more seriously. Again, though, no moves coming in from the Lakers, which I am very, very surprised. I'm expecting a big trade for the Lakers to try and land DeJounte, given how much rumors and how much talks were spreading around, but it doesn't look like they've been moving much, and it doesn't really look like much progress has been made. So last year on the Nuggets playoff run, the Nuggets swept the Lakers in the playoffs last year, and this is without a doubt going to be a revenge game for LA as the Nuggets are looking to spoil Kobe's statue ceremony. The Lakers, I'm very superstitious, and it seems that the Lakers play a lot better when they're wearing their Mamba jerseys. Call it superstition, call it luck, call it whatever you want, but I feel like the Lakers are going to come out and win this game. I don't know why. It's just something is telling me that they're going to be able to pull this out. I don't know why. I expect a big game from LeBron, as always. The team can't do anything without LeBron. And I expect a big game from Jokic as well. I expect him to obviously drop another triple-double, as he always does. Jamal Murray, I'm not expecting a big game coming in from him, but I do hope that the Lakers end up winning this game, and I expect them to win this game, given Kobe and his statue. And I don't know why. Call it superstition, you can call it what you want, but them wearing those Mamba jerseys, they become a different team. They're just different, and it's like the Mamba mentality just flows through the entire team, is what it feels like. Now, another big matchup to expect tonight is the Timberwolves going up against the Bucks. As you all know, the Bucks have been struggling recently, trying to win games. So if they can win this game at home, this will be a huge confidence booster for the Bucks, and maybe I will give them some hope. Because, as you know, my opinions for Doc Rivers aren't really the best. I think he's doing a terrible job as the head coach for the Bucks. He should be doing so much better, and he should do more than just stand there and watch them play. He doesn't call timeouts. He doesn't make the substitutions when he needs to make the substitutions, and that just infuriates me. And he just sits there and does nothing most of the time. The T-Wolves just came off of a bad loss to the Chicago Bulls, so if a team like the Bulls can beat them, then certainly the Bucks can beat them, given how the Bucks are one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference right now. I'm looking forward for this matchup between Giannis and Rudy Gobert. We will see if Rudy Gobert needs to have a very big game and it needs to be very impactful in stopping Giannis on the defensive side of the ball. So we'll see how that plays out. Great matchup. Could be a finals matchup. We don't know. I personally don't think it's going to be a finals matchup given how poorly Doc Rivers has been coaching this team. But I digress. Another matchup to look forward to tonight is Golden State going up against the Pacers. Golden State is coming off of a back-to-back game, so it's not going to be that easy for them to beat Philly. But they beat not for them to beat Philly, for them to beat the Pacers, excuse me. They beat Philly in a blowout win yesterday, and I was very wrong about Philly, and it doesn't really seem like they can do much offensively without Embiid. Granted, they just traded for Buddy Hield, so he will be a great addition to the team with three-point shooting, and maybe my opinions on the Sixers will change given how much Buddy Hield can produce. As for Golden State, this is a huge win that they needed, and the best part was that they didn't need much production from Steph Curry. Steph Curry only scored 9 points in that previous game. Klay finally showed up this game with 18 points, 4 of 5 from the 3. Kuminga had another great game. I think Draymond has been a really good mentor for him, and you can see you could see that effect sort of rub off. I think Draymond is rubbing off on him and definitely making him a better option for the team. His decision-making is what I think is actually rubbing off onto Kuminga, because Kuminga and his decision-making has greatly improved, and he's been very productive for the team offensively. And like I mentioned earlier, they're creeping up on the Utah Jazz, who seem to be trying to rebuild with these trades. Again, not entirely sure what direction they're trying to go with. We will see in the future. But so far, I'm just checking Twitter right now just to make sure that there are no more trades that have happened. And NBA trades. Nope, nothing yet. So I will continue going on into this next segment, talking about this game. Klay Thompson still believes that this team and this roster can make it all the way, and it makes sense how he would believe that these guys on the rosters would go on the way. We've seen them in the playoffs. They've won just about every series in the playoffs for the longest time. And they're no stranger to success. But this is going to be a challenge on their defense. The Pacers have Tyrese Haliburton back, and with him back, the offense has been through the roof. The Pacers recently beat the Houston Rockets on Tuesday in a high-scoring game, 132-129. The biggest problem I've had for the Pacers, I've said this throughout my entire podcast, is their defense. 4 out of the 5 players on the Houston starting lineup ended with 20 or more points. This is really, really bad. This is really bad defense. Jabari Smith and Sengun ended with 20. Jalen Green has been showing a lot more improvement on the offensive end. He ended with 30 points. And Dillon Brooks, who isn't even known for really scoring, ended with 23. Luckily, the Pacers have such a good offense that they're able to just ignore that. The team shot 62% from the field in that game. But going into the playoffs, this lack of defense is a serious, serious problem. Because the defense has always been more consistent than offense. If you can stay in front of your man and if your rotations can be on point, chances are you are going to end up winning a playoff game. Because if you can stop the other team on the offensive end and your offense isn't going, then it gives you much more of a fighting chance. You always need something to fall back on in basketball, whether it be a new offensive set, whether it be a new player to fall back on, whether it be your defense to fall back on. You always need that cushion to sort of have some room for error going into the playoffs. And I sense this is going to be a really high-scoring game. A lot of threes are going to be flying, and if Golden State wants to win this game, they are going into Indiana, they have to play some defense. Draymond is going to play a very, very big role in this game, stopping Pascal Siakam. He's definitely, who's definitely starting to find his stride on the Indiana Pacers. He had 29 in his last game against Houston. And with that, we are out of time for this third segment. And we are going to go into the fourth segment now, where I talk about the Battle of the Western Conference and how the top 4 teams are really, really close in team record. I'm going to be talking about the Clippers, the Denver Nuggets, the Oklahoma City Thunder, and the Timberwolves, as well as continuing to update you guys on trades. So I will be right back after a short break. So stay tuned. And we are back with the fourth segment of the GSMC Basketball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. A little bit of a longer break this time because there is an update on trades. So Memphis is sending David Roddy to the Suns for a pick swap as part of a 3-way deal with Phoenix and Brooklyn. Shams tweeted this out 4 minutes ago. I think this is a great pickup for the Phoenix Suns. David Roddy has been a relatively efficient scorer. He doesn't really get that much minutes as of right now. I mean, he's gotten more minutes given how Ja Morant isn't in the lineup anymore. But I see this as a great pickup for the Phoenix Suns. He averages 8 points, shoots 40% from the field, and he will be a great catch-and-shoot option for this Phoenix Suns team to surround the big three with Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal. But with that trade talk out of the way, I'm still waiting for more updates on exactly what that 3-team deal is going to have. I will also be uploading some shorts later on in the day that is going to update everybody on these trade talks. So be sure to check out our YouTube channel for those updates on GSMC Sports Network. You can find that on YouTube, and I'll also put a link in the description below so that way you guys can go ahead and subscribe. The battle in the West has been really, really tight. It's been really, really tight. Yesterday, the Clippers held the number 1 seed. Obviously, this was a very, very big deal for the media because at the beginning, when they traded for Harden a few months ago and they lost 6 straight games, immediately everybody assumed that this trade was just going to be a failure, and the media was very quick to doubt these Clippers. But over the last 40 games, the Clippers are 31-9. This is obviously amazing basketball that the Clippers are playing. They're very good. Harden has been great. He's been a great playmaker. He's shooting the highest he's ever shot from the 3 on this team. Kawhi Leonard is also having a great season. He's trying to make an argument for being in the MVP conversation. For like a 2-month span, he went on a stretch shooting 50-50-90 from the field, which is ridiculous. That is some ridiculous levels of efficiency. I personally don't think he will win MVP, and I personally don't think he should be in these MVP talks, given how stacked this Clippers team actually is and how many Hall of Famers this Clippers team actually has. With all of this in mind, last night they ended up losing to the Pelicans, who are a 6-seeded team. So obviously the Pelicans are a great team. Do I think that the Clippers should hit the panic button? No. The Pelicans have notoriously owned the Clippers for the last few years. The last 15 games that they played, they've been 11-4 against the Clippers, and it doesn't matter who's in the lineup or who's in the rotation. The Pelicans just somehow always manage to find a way to win and beat the Clippers. But them beating the Clippers moved the Clippers from the 1 seed all the way down to the 4th seed. And this just shows how competitive the Western Conference really is right now. Because the moving from the 1 seed all the way down to the 4th seed is such a big deal, given how when you're in the 1 seed, you play against teams that were in the play-in tournament, so teams that had an argument for not even making the playoffs at that point because of this new play-in tournament that they've introduced. So with that in mind, jumping from the 1 seed all the way down to the 4th seed really affects the Clippers' chances of making a deep run. And the Pelicans, they beat the best team in the West, and they're only the 6th seed. And it was a great team win. From the start of the game, the Pelicans came out strong. They were going on quick runs to get an early lead, and with that early lead, the Clippers just couldn't catch up, as well as some of the great defense that they played. Paul George was really bad in this game after having a strong Paul George was really bad. And after having a strong first half from James Harden, Harden went silent in the entire second half. So that is a big problem. I don't know why Harden decided to take a back seat in the second half. They really needed that scoring production, and that's what kept them afloat in the first half. Their defense was also a little bit suspect. I'm very surprised at how bad their paint defense was against Zion. And it just had me thinking, if they're having this much of a difficulty trying to guard Zion, imagine trying to guard Jokic. That just sounds like a really difficult task. And while it might not look like Zion had a great game on paper, he didn't produce much in the first half because his team was the one producing for him. Once his team stopped producing as well in the first half, then he started to get the ball a little bit more and started to put matters into his own hands and have a great game in the second half. And he straight up dogged them in the paint. They were like little boys, and he was just picking candy from them. The Pelicans didn't even play their best game either. So I think this conference has teams that could beat any team from the 1 seed all the way down to the 8th seed. Every team has a chance, and it's all up for grabs. It's completely different. It's a completely different story from the East, where I think now the only team that's really competing is the Boston Celtics. I have no faith in the Bucks right now and their coach. While I'm very, very excited and happy about the Knicks and their chances of making a deep playoff run, they are still the Knicks. So I try not to bring my hopes up too much in fear of disappointment, but they could definitely compete. I'm not saying that they can't compete. It's just they're the Knicks. So I'm very skeptical and I'm very scared. The Cavs are also very competitive, but I just don't think they have enough experience in the playoffs to beat the Boston Celtics, who have made it all the way to the finals and have constantly made it to the Western Conference Finals. But in the West, I can see the Clippers losing in the first round to the Pelicans. I can see them losing to Phoenix. I can see them losing to Denver. All of those teams. As well for the Timberwolves. I can see the Timberwolves losing to Denver, the Clippers, and the Suns. Same with OKC, and the same with Denver. Yesterday, for the first time ever, the top 4 teams in the Western Conference were 0 games apart from first place. So, obviously, now with the Clippers losing, it's now 3 teams that have the exact same record for first place. The Thunder, the Wolves, and the Nuggets. The Thunder is now holding the one in the 1 seed right now, so they retake the 1 seed after falling all the way down to the 4th seed or the 3rd seed. But with how close these teams really are with each other, because again, they flip-flop almost all the time, the difference between the 1 seed could be the difference between playing a play-in team and a legitimate playoff team. Obviously, if you're OKC or the Timberwolves, that is not ideal if you were to drop from the 1 all the way down to the 4th. and playing a legitimate playoff team. That is absolutely not ideal, not something that they should try doing. The Wolves and the Thunder have recently, they've been losing some really important games, not really important games, but they've been losing, really bad games to a bunch of bad teams. And not only that, they don't necessarily have much playoff experience. I already lost faith in Oklahoma. So if they drop all the way down to the 4th seed, I could see them losing to the 5th seed easily, depending on the matchups, of course. Same with the Timberwolves. The playoffs are all about matchups. So you have to try to get the best team to match up with to give you the best chances of making it farther into the playoffs. And losing the 1 spot or the 2 spot, depending on where they end up towards the end of the season, because it's really, really close, could be the difference maker from a first-round exit or a deep playoff run. The Nuggets, they're the only team that's in the top 3 that I'm not necessarily worried about. They're the defending champions, so obviously it makes sense, but these guys, they can literally beat anyone. And I wouldn't be surprised if they go back-to-back. The Clippers, they need all the help they can get, however. Even though they held the 1 seed for a time, they still need all the help they can get because, once again, I've said it before, I've said it once, I'll say it again, I have to see it in the playoffs. Paul George cannot afford to play like how he played in the previous game in the playoffs. He absolutely cannot afford that. And I personally think that their best matchup going into the playoffs is actually against Phoenix because they have enough offense to be able to keep up, while at the same time their defense is a little bit better than Phoenix. So they might be able to put a stop to Beal, Devin Booker, and Kevin Durant in some games. I don't expect them to do it in all the games, but in some games. Obviously, there's a possibility that the Suns come out on top, given how they beat the Clippers last year, but they didn't have Paul George last year. So that's something to look forward to and something to expect. Again, I feel like every team can beat every team in the Western Conference. I'm just going to look at my phone real quick and make sure I am not missing any other trades before I end the stream because we are running out of time with this segment. So just going to look. Just going to once again go ahead and check. The Brooklyn Nets finalizing a trade to send Royce O'Neal to the Phoenix Suns for salaries and 3 second-round picks. So that's another trade that just ended up happening. The Phoenix Suns really just seem like they're robbing the Brooklyn Nets, and they're just taking all of their players. They took KD from them, and now they're taking Royce O'Neal from them. Royce O'Neal, I'm not a really big fan of him. Me personally, not a big fan of Royce O'Neal. So I'm all right seeing him gone. I'm very grateful that we didn't end up trading Miles Bridges or any one of those pieces. But Royce O'Neal leaving, it's all right given what we've gotten from other trades, and now that we have an actual center rotation. I'm just going to go ahead and look at some of these stats from Royce. Yeah, 7 points, 38% from the field. Again, not a huge fan on him in his game, so I'm all right seeing him gone. But with that, and as of right now, no other trades have been made, so I'm going to end the stream. That is it for the 4th segment. Thank you for tuning in to the GSMC Basketball Podcast, presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to subscribe to the show, leave a positive review in it. Really makes a difference, and we also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram for more content and updates. As I mentioned earlier in the stream, I will be making a bunch of shorts, updating everybody and updating us on the rest of the trades that are going to be coming in within the next half hour, within the next half an hour, within the next hour and a half, all that, up until 3 o'clock. So stay in tune for that. I am your host, Nelson. Thank you again for tuning in. Have a wonderful day, and as always, take care.